Welcome back to the other side of 45. I am your host, Randy Black. This podcast is about taking chances, owning my mistakes, addressing generational and family trauma and curses, completing my 50s list, my life as a single empty nester, and inviting others who have similar backgrounds to share their story. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Please subscribe and rate this podcast 5 stars. My Gen Z oldest daughter, encouraged me to start doing video podcasts to engage on different social media platforms. For her in particular, it was TikTok. Not a big TikTok person, but she said, "Oh, you should do TikTok, do videos." So fine, we're doing videos, but also for YouTube. And when she claims, I said claims, I meant that she's going to take over my social media, which would be great. It would be awesome because I work 2 jobs, and when you work 2 jobs, you don't have a whole lot of time. So between trying to do the podcast and working 2 jobs, creating the content for social media, trying to keep up the website, it's a lot going on. It's kind of hard, and I don't have a whole lot of time. So since my surgery, my social media has kind of been weak. It's been waning. So has my podcast. So hopefully with her helping me, that will change. I'm hoping. So hopefully we'll see some changes. She and I have come up with a lot of great ideas. But it's June. This is going to be the first podcast in June. So I decided, okay, if we're going to do a video, let's do it in June. So here we are. And May was very busy for me. Like, we had a lot going on. This is just war. So my oldest daughter graduated from college on May 6th. So proud of her. My relatives were there, and honey, they did their best to make it about anybody else but her. Anyway, but I anticipated that that the day would not go without drama, and I was absolutely correct. It's disappointing to me to see what great lengths my relatives will go to ruin something for my family. So my nephew, my youngest daughter, and I were trying to keep the graduate from stressing, which wasn't easy because, of course, they did what they do. We did eventually get back to the point of the day, which is celebrating her graduation. But, it's like, why we even have to go there? Yeah, honey, we were that family on the football field, mad and arguing. One of the relatives, there are no pictures with this relative because anyway, after the initial drama on the football field, we were able to enjoy ourselves, but there were more issues at the next 2 venues that we went to. Both were a little bit of drama, not as bad as the one at a football field. And I'm sure if you were to ask them, they would react as if they have no clue what I mean. Now, my youngest daughter, my nephew, and I also attended a community event here in the suburbs of Atlanta. And I got me a bobblehead with my face in it from the State Farm booth. That was fun. And then both girls and I attended the local art center gallery opening. I try to go to all of the gallery openings. It's just fun. I like art, as you can see. My eldest did that. My oldest daughter did that. So I do like going to the art galleries. And so we did that. And the next day was Mother's Day. So my youngest and I spent that day hiking. If you've seen some of my social media posts, you would say it was a beautiful day. I have video of the waterfall. There was a black snake that crossed our path, honey. A curious spider. Just nature. And I'm not really I wouldn't really consider myself a nature lover. Not yet. I do enjoy going out in nature. I wouldn't consider myself a nature lover. I think of those people being way different than me. And that could just be me stereotyping these people. I don't know. I just know I don't consider myself that. I'm a nature liker. We hadn't found the love yet. But anyway, so after that, my youngest made her way to study abroad in Belize. So then my oldest and I headed to North Carolina to attend a wedding. So I don't know. You don't know me. You may not know what my voice sounds like, but I'm getting over COVID. So after that, I caught COVID. And for me, it was just like having the flu. I'm just getting over it now. The first couple of days, I was spent in bed, and then I slowly began to get better. So I'm just getting to where I can spend a good bit of time upright without coughing. I'm not saying I'm completely over the coughing. It's just not nearly as bad as it was. I don't have the runny nose and all the congestion, but so I'm feeling a lot better. There was a point where I was coughing, have these coughing spells that will last where I could barely, it was difficult for me to breathe, to catch my, not breathe, but catch my breath. So as you can see that May was a month of activities, which is why I am in need of my daughter stepping up to be my social media manager. Now, I do have a certification in digital marketing, but I can't do both. I can't do the job, the podcast, social media content, social media manager. I can't do it all. So I've learned from other podcasters, as soon as you're able to, get some help. So if she can help me now, that'd be great. If not, I'll keep trucking along, and you just really hope that you just bear with me as I try to get it all in. So this is the first episode in June, and I want to do something because June is for Pride, Juneteenth, and Father's Day, right? And of course, the first day of summer. And I really didn't get to do the Mother's Day episode on my podcast that I had planned. And I don't know, I think it's just too late at this point because it's already June, and I had this great episode planned. At least I thought it was great. But anyway, I just think it's just too late. I don't know. We'll see. But it's June, and I just kind of want to focus on June stuff. So Black Pride, you know? And I've done an episode. If you're a regular subscriber, you know that I grew up in a cult. So homosexuality was forbidden. So we were taught that it was wrong and to exclude homosexuals from our lives. Like, we were even forbidden to watch television shows or movies that featured a gay character. Now, I remember that when Ellen came out on her TV show, we were fans of the sitcom. I remember that episode. And you know what? I was young and I had no real feelings about it. It wasn't like I was like, oh my God. You know, I just didn't really, I haven't really any feelings about it. But I know after that, you know, her show was shortly canceled, but after that coming out episode, but then she went on to have her own her daytime talk show. And we weren't allowed to watch it. You know, they were very clear that it was like inviting that person into your home. And if you wouldn't invite them into your home in real life, why would you watch a show where this person who's doing this thing that they're not supposed to be doing because they're homosexual? I mean, that's just what they said. Period, point blank. That's how it was. Now, let's just be clear. Like I said, I didn't have those kind of feelings about homosexuals even back then, but I didn't really watch talk shows. Still don't. I'm just not a talk show person. Now, I will see clips of talk show, parts of different talk shows that I watch on social media, but it's really not my thing. So growing up, I didn't have many interactions with homosexuals. Therefore, I had no real connection to them, thus making homosexuality for me not an issue. It was a non-issue. So, but I've grown, I've matured, and I've expanded my circle. And now I have a connection with the LGBT plus community. Like, for instance, last fall, I attended my first drag show. I went to Pride. Nope, that's a lie. I attended my first drag show in 2021 when my oldest daughter turned 21. So that was in 2021. In 2022, which was last year, I went to my first Pride in Atlanta. It was great. So, but my viewpoint definitely has changed over the years. Like I said, it was never an issue for me, but let me just get into it. Okay. Within, I would say, the last 10 years, I've had someone in my circle who is in the LGBTQ plus community. So I recall a coworker who was very kind to me at a really low point in my life. I mean, he would give me a ride to and from work. And one time, like during Thanksgiving, I remember the Thanksgiving weekend, you know, because we wrote the work together, we were kind of really close at work. You know, I wouldn't say really, really close, but we talked. We were very friendly. He was a very friendly person. He was close to everybody. He had a really good relationship with most people there. Anyway, so he knew my children were going to go to South Carolina for Thanksgiving, which they often did. You know, I've said on my show many times, on my episode many times, that the girls would go to South Carolina, visit my family during school breaks, Thanksgiving being one of those breaks. So this was part of the norm. They were going back during Thanksgiving, and he knew that I was going to be alone. I still had to work. I wasn't going. And this was, even before I was ousted from the cult, I wasn't a big fan of Thanksgiving. You know, it just wasn't something that my family really got into. So me being alone for Thanksgiving meant absolutely nothing to me. I was like, whatever, it's another day. Who cares? But he was like, oh, no. He called me by my government name. Of course, he didn't say Rand. He called me by my government name. And he was like, oh, no, I really want you to come. And I was like, nah. I declined so many times. But he insisted, and eventually I agreed. So this was my first Thanksgiving since leaving the cult at that time. And like I said, this was in around 2012, 2013, so many years ago. So anyway, I go to his house. He had a partner at the time. They had the traditional Thanksgiving food plus a little weed. Now, I did not enjoy the weed. As a matter of fact, I have never tried weed. To this day, at 48 in 2023, I can say I have never tried weed. Matter of fact, I've never had any illegal substance at all. And look, even as I say that, I feel bored. That sounds so boring, but it's fine. I don't feel like I miss out. And if I do, I can always do it. But, I'm in a point in my life I do whatever I want to. And it's just not on my list. It's not. Anyway, so it's crazy, though, because, as I sit and try to remember this story, I have not thought about this young man in years. But for some reason, when I was thinking about pride, this came up. So anyway, we're at his house, and we're in the kitchen, and I offered help. We had gone to the grocery store before, and we had bought a bunch of stuff for the dinner. It was going to be him and his friends and his partner. And so we had chips and drinks and everything. So, and I didn't drink a lot that day. They had alcoholic beverages, but they had mostly beer and liquor, different liquors, dark and white. And I'm not a big straight liquor drinker. And so I didn't really drink a lot that day. I don't even remember what I had, but I just remember being in the kitchen and, trying to help, get this Thanksgiving meal together. And I remember him asking me a couple of times to help him baste the turkey. And I had never basted turkey before, but it ain't that hard. I watched him and then I would help do that. So, I was involved. But what I remember is how happy everybody was. These people all knew each other. They're friends. They're laughing. We're joking. Just having a really good time, And I felt happy and honored to be a part of this. And I was so glad that I had gone because I had like I said, I had told him, no, on so many occasions. But I actually was glad that I went. And I think I was also curious of what it would be like because I had never been to a traditional Thanksgiving meal because, like I said, my family wasn't into that. Even those who were not in the cult, we just didn't do stuff like that. So I was kind of curious of how it would be. And it was pretty typical what you see on TV. So, most of them are something weed and drinking. Now, let me tell you, on a side note, all these people coming in, they had a dog. Everybody was petting the dog and feeding the dog, and nobody washed their hands. So I know this is gonna sound crazy. I just remember the whole time thinking, "Oh my God, I hope they don't think I'm gonna eat this food." And I didn't. I ate the food that I helped prepare because, honey, I remember saying, this is taking a total different turn, y'all. But I remember saying on several occasions, let me wash my hands. Hoping that somebody who was in the kitchen preparing food would say, oh, I should wash my hands too. But, honey, they didn't get down. So we have gone to the store prior to the dinner. And so then we had like chips and dips and stuff. So I was really filling up on that. And I did that on purpose because I was like, I do not want to eat this food. These people ain't washed their hands. And so by the time the dinner was done, we're all sitting at the table and everything. And I was like, look, I'm who I am, honey. I was not even about to even pretend like I'm going to eat this food. So I was like, oh, I've been eating a lot of chips and stuff. So I'm really not that hungry when it was time to eat their food. Like I said, whatever I prepared, like I helped to do the turkey and I was basting it. So I did have a little turkey, which I'm not a huge fan of turkey, and that was before I became plant-based. So anyway, it was fun. And my coworker made me a plate, which unfortunately I did not eat. Regardless of that, it was was and is a good memory. Now, I know 20 years ago when I worked with a gay man. Now, what's funny is he never said he was gay. I'm not sure if he was out of the closet or he just assumed that we all knew, but we never spoke of it. We knew he had a roommate that was a male. And I mean, I don't know. So that was the only other time. And also a non-issue. He and I were never more than just good coworkers. Not because I had issues with him. We were just one of those people who just you had fun with work with, and that was it. So, and I don't always remember these two particular people. I don't always remember it. And like they say, some people are in your life for a reason, some for a season. Those two people were in my life for a season, and their season ended some years ago. So nowadays, someone who I consider a really good friend, he's a gay man, he's married, and he and I always are making plans to do things together. As a matter of fact, we met a couple of weeks ago to go hiking one weekend. He found out I like to go hiking, and he was like, oh, I want to go, we're going to do it. And I like him because he is a doer. Like, he's like, we're going to go hiking together. And he was like pulling out his phone. He was like, I know what weekends you work, so we're going to go. And I was like, okay. And I didn't have no problem with it. We had a really good time. We went and had brunch. Anyway, so he's someone that I consider a really good friend. We also share memes with each other. We text all the time. We talk. He's just a really good friend. And then I also know a trans woman. And honey, y'all, when I tell you, she's one of the sweetest people I know. I don't know how much she's going to do in her transition, but just a sweet person. And there are just many others. And what I know is that they're good people. Now, like I said, my viewpoint, has changed regarding the LGBTQ plus community. It has. No, I was never one that saw anything wrong with what way they live their lives. But I was, in fact, indoctrinated to believe that it was wrong and against God's laws. Now, that is how I've changed. I am no longer in the code. I don't do religion at all. I embrace how others live their lives. And it makes me happy. I know that sounds cheesy, but it does. It makes me happy that those in the LGBTQ plus community feel safe around me. I mean, they tell me things that weigh deeply on their hearts because they know I'm a safe space. And I'm proud of that. And when I think about those conversations, the laughter, the friendships that I've shared with those in the LGBTQ plus community, it just brings me a big smile. It makes me feel good about who I am. And like the theme song, From My Life, by my sister, Mary J. Blige says, in Just Fine. I like what I see when I'm looking at me, when I'm walking past the mirror. Don't stress through the night. At a time in my life, ain't worried about if you feel it. Got my head on straight. I got my vibe right. I ain't gonna let you kill it. You see, I wouldn't change my life. My life's just fine. Meet me on the other side of 45. It's the podcast, the website, the Instagram, Facebook, and hopefully more TikTok. New episodes will be released every Monday. Thank you for tuning in. Please rate the podcast 5 stars on Apple Podcasts so others can find it. It helps me grow my podcast. Your feedback and support are appreciated. And if you want to share your story and be a guest on the podcast, please email me at host. That's HOST, host, at othersideof45.com. That being said, I did do an interview with Hard to Be Seen. She's a hard of hearing woman, and it just wasn't loud enough. And so we finally got a microphone that is not compatible with her laptop. So we are still working on redoing that interview and getting a better version of it so that it can be uploaded and you guys can hear it. It's a great interview, and I look forward to us doing it right. Until next week, have a great one.